Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Culture Nerd Podcast. This week, we're going to be talking about some more Daredevil and some more other stuff because we have other things to talk about as well. But we're officially going to talk about Marvel may have inadvertently spilled the beans on one of the biggest season 2 spoilers. In the funniest, nonchalant way possible. So we're going to talk about Daredevil. We're going to talk about this current season of Born Again season 2, and then we're going to get into all the other nitty gritty world of nerd and all the stuff that we want to share of all the things that are making us excited right now. So sit tight and enjoy the show. And here we are.
And here we are. Invincible season over, Severance season over, but we get to enjoy a brand new season of Daredevil.
I think it was funny with the ending of Severance. I was seeing all over the RSS feeds like, is Severance getting a season 3? Is Severance getting a season 3? And it was like all the headlines leading up to the finale. And then as the finale started airing, Apple's like, it's getting a season 3, like before the episode even started. So it was just funny watching like people really late to the game who weren't really paying attention. Like, is it happening? It's like, well, they announced it 4 hours ago. So yes, it is. But
I feel like because every minute is so precious to the characters, we could get 5 seasons. There's absolutely at least 2 more seasons of just the conflicts and things that I would like to be resolved. Yeah. So I don't know. I hope that they don't get too greedy with it, but like, I love it, Taylor. It was that final episode. I mean, it's as good as any movie.
Well, I have to admit, I am behind on the show. I don't have Apple TV because I couldn't justify the $6 a month or whatever it was. So I do catch it when I can, but I've heard nothing but great things. And I remember seeing, just this past week, there's been some really funny correlations that people have found where there's an episode of Parks and Rec where Adam Scott's character basically describes his ideal government entity, and it's the plot of Severance. And people are like, did he pitch his own show how many years ago? And there's been some really funny narratives about the fact that he just prophetically described this show.
That's a wonderful happenstance. I'm glad that this was destined to be and always was.
Yeah.
It's wild as I look at a shelf of 1 million toys that you're like, oh, I can't justify the $6. Okay, you get 1 less chicken nuggets this month.
Well, no, it's not that I don't justify the $6. I can't justify getting a subscription for one show.
Okay. That I understand. I would tell you to watch Slow Horses as well, but I hear you. It's not enough. It is the most lacking of the platforms.
And it's funny because there was some news broadcast this past week all over the feed saying that like Apple is reportedly losing $1 billion a year on Apple Plus.
Yes, for sure they are. But guess what? Unlike Disney, they don't kind of give a shit. Yeah. Like these shows kind of have whatever budgets they need. It's all just content for the devices for, great, you can watch this shit. I don't think they care.
They definitely don't. And I think that's what's so unique about how Apple does it compared to like every other tech industry right now. Like Disney is hemorrhaging money all the time and they're constantly panicking. And the new Snow White movie came out and the reviews have actually been pretty decent, but the fans have already spoken and they do not care about this film. And it's already gearing toward being a bomb because it's the people who are seeing it are the only ones who want to see it. It's going to be just like Captain America, where it's going to have a strong opening weekend and then it's going to dip off like 90% and no one's going to see the next weekend. Because
when do you think all this, I mean, lots of channels, lots of places ringing the alarm bells on Disney. How does it manifest? Do you think they lay off people? Do you think it's Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, they've had
Well, I
so
don't think
many
Disney's going to
projects
go out of
go
their way
anywhere.
and kill people, but I think like
Well, that's not what I meant.
that's what you said, and we're gonna hold you to it.
I don't think they're going to off people, but do they fire them?
I think they are. I think what's going to happen is like Disney has been very well aware of the shift in the market, and there's, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, there's the progressive stance on making things, aka woke, and it's not even like the term is so uselessly misused. It's actually laughable at this point, but um, what it comes down to is that people are speaking that they just don't care about these political agendas in their shows. And when you try to do these progressive pushes and you try to make these changes, um, people just don't care. Like they're like, all right, cool, but this movie is meant to be a remake of a almost 100-year-old movie that was very much a fairy tale. So why are we changing it? And this new Snow White movie, spoilers for anyone who actually plans on seeing it, they justified casting a Hispanic actress as Snow White by saying she's not as white as snow and pure as snow like in the original. She was conceived during a snowstorm or something, and that's all it was. And the justification for the seven
That's
dwarfs,
fine. That's a fine justification for naming her Snow White. That's fine. Why does it matter? Her name is Snow White.
and the dwarves aren't even dwarves; they're these magical creatures who have this ability to sift out gems, and that's what they are. Um, okay. They changed a handful of songs. There's no Prince Charming, like literally no Prince Charming. They replaced the character with a thief named Jonathan or something, and he's the love
Jonathan
interest.
the
Yeah,
Thief.
and the evil witch, when she dies, she doesn't die. Oh, also the evil queen is like her stepmom. So that's something that they made front and center. Was that always the case? I don't know. Remember, I don't think it was.
I think it might have been. I don't know.
Maybe, I don't know. But they had like this backstory where like her dad, her mom died, and her dad married the evil queen, and the evil queen like murdered him, and then like made her be like a servant and something like that. And then
When you tell me all of these plot points of like where they decided to focus their energy, it all sounds garbagey.
yeah,
Snow White it's that juxtaposition of like joy and terror. There's a lot of really scary stuff. The scary forest, there's
the
things
huntsman
in
being
it.
sent out to kill her and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
you
Like,
have to confront these fears. So it's like you almost need to give this Snow White over to like Guillermo del Toro. Like,
oh, that would be fun, right?
let the scenes, let the visual imagery of it sell what's going on here.
Yeah, that would be fun. I think that would be. I would love to see his take on it. I mean, it would. I always say that the Snow White and the Huntsman, that movie, the worst part of that movie was the lead actress. I didn't think Kirsten Stewart did a good job, but everything else about that film I thought was fantastic. I thought the imagery that they did was very much GDT style imagery. You could tell whoever was a production designer in that thing was like, oh, you know what my favorite movie of all time is? Princess Mononoke. And I'm going to make sure that they know this. And they did that where you see like the spirits of the forest and stuff. I'm like, I've seen this. I've seen this movie, and you can see it, and it's really cool, and it's dark, and it's creepy, and it's got this really nice vibe to it. And I'm like, I can see the inspiration, and I'm not mad at all.
I also feel like they shot themselves in the foot. I think that in a movie that probably is a CG fest, you probably needed to have just dwarf actors that could be on film to interact in these scenes. And I think you would have gotten a much better performance over whatever we got in mocap suits, I'm assuming, correct?
Well, no. So, I mean, we've talked about this before, that the film actually had these 7 mythical non-binary characters, and then people were like, nope, and they're like, okay, we're going to CGI over every one of them and make these giant dwarves. And that's how they did it. It was initially something very different. People freaked the hell out over set photos, and Disney was like, that's not what we're doing, and then they course corrected and changed everything. So
I feel did those actors get to voice the characters?
Not that I know of.
Oh boy, just cut out of the movie.
Just like
all
they
that
didn't
work
exist.
just goes nowhere. That movie also sounds. They turned him into a thief. Isn't that what's going on in Tangled?
Yeah, that's like literally the plot of Tangled. Yeah.
Okay. Snow White Tangled.
But I mean, even the ending where you have like, oh, so there's also no golden coffin. That's not a thing. They just adorn her on a rock in the forest with like flowers and shit. And people
You
are like,
gotta
oh,
have
look
a
at that body.
coffin so the fucking animals don't get at her. Why would you not
Yeah,
cover her up?
yeah. And then when the evil queen dies, it's not like she gets struck by lightning and falls off a cliff. It's like the mirror shatters and like sucks her soul into the mirror. And I'm like, interesting.
No body, no corpse. I don't think that she's not. So she's alive in a mirror,
No.
so they can do it
She
again.
but she like turned to dust. It was like her body like dissolved and like her soul got sucked in the mirror and her body just fluffed into dust or something.
Dust means nothing to me. They could bring her back again if they want.
Exactly. Yeah. But
They never will. This movie
we already derailed 10 minutes off of just bitching about Snow White. We're gonna talk about apparently Marvel decided to do something pretty damn funny where they was like, oh, we're gonna do this where we got the inspiration for these big moments of the first few episodes of Daredevil.
Great. What did they show?
They straight up said the death of Foggy Nelson is based on the comic The Death of Foggy Nelson, which was where he faked his death and came back later on. And they like showed the shot of they had the issue, that everything, and everyone was immediately like, wait, so Foggy's not dead? You just literally said the scene that inspired the scene was the scene where he faked his death.
I guess they are not happy with, they don't feel like there's enough excitement, or maybe they're trying to get, maybe do they feel like a percentage of the audience saw him get killed and they were like, oh, I'm not watching this show. I don't feel like that's true, but maybe that's what happened.
Maybe that's what they're doing. I don't know. But it's like, it's funny because like we were talking about this just before we started recording. I firmly believe that the only problem with Daredevil Born Again is that people are so pent up on nostalgia that they're not even paying attention to how the quality of the original show was versus what the quality of the new show is. Because if this happened in succession, right? If you did seasons 1, season 2, season 3, and then they made this season 6 months later and they just said, Netflix didn't want to do it, we're taking it over, people would have bitched. They'd have been like, oh yeah, it's back. But there's so much narrative that this show isn't as good as the original. And it says this, it's the same crowd that says no Superman movie is going to be nearly as good as Superman 78. But then when you actually objectively watch something, you're like, oh, wait, this is not as good as I remember. The nostalgia factor bumped my memory up 1,000 points. But yeah, this is good. It's not amazing. And
well, that first Daredevil show, there was nothing else. I mean, what kung fu television shows are there anymore? There's, you know what I mean? Like, it was a show that had like a really fun, small scale sense of its action. You know, I think about the hallway scene, and it's like, yeah, that's what you do when you don't have a budget. You don't
you be creative.
Yeah, you have it. You know, the complaint of the first show was that it was people talking about doing heroic stuff. It's like, that's kind of what Daredevil is. That's the scene we get at the diner with Fisk.
Yeah, and it's funny to me because like, yes, the show was fantastic. We all love the show because of the quality, and the quality existed because of the non-existent budget. And that was actually something that came out recently. It was one of the producers of the original Defenders universe basically said Netflix wanted to make these shows with zero budget, and we had to get creative. And now you have the same quality of writing, but with a budget, and people are like, oh, it's not the same. It's not the same. It's like, why is it not the same? Because it looks slightly better, that they're doing more with it. Daredevil's doing flips and shit. Like, is that what the issue is? Is that he's not just a blind dude in a bandana like he was in the first show? He's actually Daredevil in the comics.
I also feel like they're waiting for the big payoff of, I think we're going to get like three solid episodes of him running around doing action stuff in the suit, but I think they want to keep that build up going. I think they don't, they hasn't crossed that threshold yet.
Well, I like to also point out that everyone who loved the original show, because I did too, I think the big factor why everyone loved the original was the fact that Netflix drops all of their content in one hit. And the fact that we're waiting a week at a time, like normal rational TV used to be, people are not liking it. Which is funny to me that people are just getting impatient and wanting their stuff right then and there. Like, everyone seems to forget when Daredevil first came out back in 2016, Or was it no, even earlier, because that was season 2, wasn't it? Um, when it first came out, I think in 2014, 2015, uh, Daredevil didn't suit up as Daredevil until the last 10 minutes of the first season.
Yeah, he had all the black stuff on.
Yeah, he basically had like the t-shirt, the black pants, and the bandana for the entirety of the show until he fought Kingpin in the street. And that was the only time he wore the suit. And then I don't know. I just feel like people are letting their nostalgia feed their dissatisfaction of something new, and it's just they want to be upset with Disney for the sake of it.
They're already bringing in big characters. They've already just brought in, like, the fact that he's in the universe is so cool. Do you think we need to see a Spider-Man? Do you think we need to see Spider-Man show up in the show? Do you think that's what it is, that like to really cement this, like, yeah, this is the level that we're at now?
I think if they did, I think that would probably break the internet a little bit. I don't think people would be ready to see Peter Parker swing by. Like they'd be like, oh no, it's a thing, it's real. And everyone would just lose their minds. And I'm not sure how the internet would properly react to it. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be like the other way around. Like he's going to show up in his movie again and people are going to lose their minds again. But maybe it's just that people are bitter of the Daredevil appearance in She-Hulk and they're just thinking that Disney's going to do that again. But no.
Well, I mean, in hindsight, do you think that was, I mean, it makes sense. Do you think it would have been better if he didn't go on a mission and just did lawyer stuff?
Well, that's what he was doing in that show. Like he was literally.
No, he puts the yellow thing on. They go fight those dudes in the factory. He then goes and ships her. He walks home without his shoes on.
So that was actually because of a court case, right? Remember, he only showed up because the guy who made his costume was getting sued by a guy who was abusing his costume.
Right.
And he shows up, tries to justify it, and then at a way to basically stop this asshat from getting like winning the court case, he shows up to like beat his ass at his warehouse and then like gets his ass turned into the cops. So like there was a whole like court side of things. Like Daredevil was only in San Francisco or LA or wherever he's at was because of his tailor was getting sued.
Listen, I like this character. I'm fine with him. It was a fun part of that show. It was a nice little diversion adventure from the rest of the She-Hulk nonsense.
Yeah, it was actually one of the highlights of that show.
You know what's funny is I almost feel like She-Hulk has to be in a movie with Deadpool so that they can, because she kind of breaks the fourth wall.
Yeah, they're the only characters in Marvel that properly break the fourth wall, and it would be very funny to have them like just like acknowledge, like just sit there like, wait, you can see the audience too, and she's like, all the time. Like, and something like that. Like that's all you have to do just to like make an acknowledgement that the fourth wall is there and they can shatter it together, but they're not going to.
How many episodes do we get this season of Daredevil?
I think it was like 8 or 9.
Okay.
But in this last episode, I mean, you got the big moment where you see him basically discover that White Tiger's murderers were indeed the dirty cops.
We also had from the comic books, the daughter or whatever shows up and is like, give me his stuff.
Yeah, the niece. And she's like, I want to get these cops back. And she's like, and yeah, that's the character who becomes the White Tiger in the comics. Like that's actually the girl. So I like the fact that she was like 15 or 16. So they can be like, we're going to sit on this for a little bit. And she'll come back later at like 19 and be like a badass.
Do we stick her on whatever this Young Avengers team is, or do you add her to the Defenders? Do you keep her in the city?
It'd be cool to see her on the Young Avengers, actually getting some ass kickery in there, not just like the random.
And that's something I think they need to do as well. I think it would be okay for this cinematic universe to have its own interpretation of the team. Put some different people on there. You know, play around with those numbers.
Yeah. I would be cool with it. Honestly, I think it would be fine. I think the way they're doing it, like I said, the reason people are just mad is probably because of like nostalgia, but also just because they have to be patient. We got so used to the Netflix model of things that having to do things the not Netflix way is we don't get to see the payoff, and we don't get to see, like, I know for a fact that when the first season of Daredevil came out, a lot of people immediately logged in, went to the last episode to see the payoff and said, okay, so he does suit up. Let's watch this. And they would go back and then rewatch the show from the start
Oh,
because they
that's
knew
wild.
it was worth the time to watch. So I feel like because people don't know the payoff and there's no leaks, there's no anything, I think people are now like, okay, what's going on?
Well, aren't people intrigued by the murder guy? That murder guy with blood eyes who keeps showing up? Like, what? Isn't that the guy? Isn't
Well,
that?
that's also how I know people who bitching on the internet don't read the damn comics, because if they did, they would know that the entire plot line with Muse is going to be insane, and it's way darker and way more insane than anything we got on the Netflix verse. And I feel like if people don't know who Muse is, just Google him, see how nuts this show is going to be. We've already seen him grabbing homeless people and harvesting their blood for his paint. So let's just wait a second.
Yeah, and I also like, I don't know, Daredevil does not feel like Batman. Daredevil will bust your skull open. Like, he just, listen, he's like, gets emotional sometimes, and sometimes he just kills people.
Like I'm really enjoying everything about this show so far. It actually feels like the best of both worlds, where we have like the comic Daredevil being represented finally as the comic Daredevil, and then we've also got the best of what Netflix did with the character. So
Yeah,
I'm
and
all on
that's
board.
that crime procedural. You know, that's that stuff that like people that don't watch superhero shows, you could maybe like, if you like a Law and Order, maybe you'll get into this one. You'll get into like 3/4 of this episode.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I just like this show a lot, and I'm watching the internet just lose its mind over it, and it's really bumming me out. But I'm like, all right, guys, just give it time because it's
Well,
going to get nuts. The
and
payoff is coming.
but it feels so much more composed than like the Star Wars stuff, where
Yeah,
like they'll be introducing new ideas up until like the 80% part of the show, and it's like none of this is going to pay off. Why are you shooting me with all of these ideas? It's like, no, this show has been very deliberate in what it is getting across.
yeah. I mean, the reintroduction of Frank Castle was fantastic, and I liked how he was like exactly what Daredevil needed to realize that yes, the beast is there, and you just have to aim it at what you need to aim it at, which is kind of perfect. And on that same note, we already know from last time we talked about the costume stuff, where everyone's like, "Oh, the armored Daredevil, the armored Daredevil." I was exactly right with the Shadowland stuff, because the set photos for the last couple of days have literally shown him in the black suit. And
The black suit makes a lot of sense, especially if he in the show is hesitant about going back out again in costume, but he has to. So a black suit kind of makes sense.
what we also know from the set photos is that Wilson Fisk introduces the anti-vigilante task force, all adorning the Punisher symbol, which is going to be pretty nuts.
Yeah,
And
even their armor on their shirt.
yeah,
If you were
it's
to,
very much a Punisher-esque symbol. And these guys are literally going around and attacking and arresting anyone who could be considered a vigilante.
Frank Castle only goes after bad guys. You're gonna get your heads crushed in.
Yeah, and like they literally have wanted posters for Matt Murdock, actually Matt Murdock, all over the town. And that's why he's in the shot with Karen Page, clearly wearing a really ridiculous red wig, and him wearing the Captain America disguise, where he's put the sunglasses and the hoodie up.
And he's not walking with his cane, which
yeah,
means
so
he's using his superpower so that other people don't know.
Yeah, they're like, oh, we're looking for a blind dude. That's not the blind. Yeah, so like what's going on is that he's being hunted down, and with the word on the street is that because of the anti-vigilante task force overstepping their civic duties and their bounds of what they should be allowed to do by law, Daredevil says to hell with it and reestablishes the Defenders, and they go in a big street war against the Fisk administration.
Listen, let our fiction live out the fantasies that don't live in our real world. I wish someone could do that here, but I'm glad I get to see it there. Do you think we get the same for Defenders, or do you think we get this? Do you think we get White Tiger Girl? You think we get another? You think we get a Punisher? You think we maybe like a different four?
Well, we know that we're going to get the Punisher. We know he's coming back for sure. The actor has already been confirmed to be getting a one-shot project for Punisher that he is actually helping co-write to make sure that the character is within the bounds that he wants the character to be portrayed as.
I love it. I love it. That's like rock stuff. It's like, yeah, this is what I'll allow. He's so talented as an actor. I hope that they can sell him on the MCU kind of upping the scale of this stuff. I also wonder if like maybe you have him do the storyline where he takes the Rhodes armor. Like maybe that's how you like save Armor Wars. Punisher shows up in Rhodey's suit and they have to deal with it.
Honestly, it's one of my favorite suits, and in my myriad of toys, I do have that one piece.
Show this shit. Yeah, look at this. Look at this shit. This is crazy.
It's on a stack of helmets on my floor because I am trying to rearrange my office and I have no room for my helmets. So I'm actually setting all my helmets up in like wall stands in my theater room. So when those wall stands come in, we're gonna have a row of helmets in my theater room. They're gonna watch people as they watch movies. So, but with all of that, we know that he's wearing the black suit. The Defenders are allegedly coming into the foray, and we just got a whole lot of Daredevil goodness coming forward.
Yeah, fuck it. Bring back Luke Cage. Bring back Jessica.
I want them to bring them all back because honestly,
what's funny is Iron Fist works better in this universe. The problem with that show is he never does Iron Fist shit. Now they'll CG the shit out of this.
Well, so the best parts of the Iron Fist show is when they had their budget. And when they didn't have their budget, you could tell that, okay, this isn't working because you guys are definitely skimping on the budget. With that being said, I think that this show could, if they give even just a fraction of the attention that they gave to the fight choreography that they did with like Shang-Chi and this season, Iron Fist would be a fantastic character. I think it'll be perfect. So
maybe you even bring Iron Fist in to like bring Shang-Chi. Maybe that's how you get him back into all of this.
People who read the comics know that they do, and those characters work very well together. So yes, I want all of those things. All of the things.
Okay. Well, we'll get the things. We're not getting them today, but we'll get them soon. I'm excited for more Daredevil. We'll just have to watch and see how the season plays out.
Yeah. And aside from all of the Marvel side of things, Pokemon TCG Pocket has a new expansion dropping next week, Michael, and it's a shiny expansion.
I have not fallen behind on the game. I also feel I've been able to get enough cards. I feel like if I don't finish these sets, I will lose interest, but I haven't yet. I've enjoyed all the aspects of the game. It's Taylor, it hits all the feels.
I definitely missed that stupid nose pass on the recent
you are not event. The only person that told me they found out about that event late. They announced what the new incarnation of trading is going to be, and I believe promos will be tradable. So I think I have a nose pass for your collection. Oh
good,
yeah,
because I have like 5 of every other one, but no freaking nose pass.
That's wild. That's wild.
They need to fix like the drop ratios on some of those things, because I know that they say the drop ratios are all dependent on how you did on the last event, but sometimes it doesn't work out that way.
Yeah, it doesn't work out that way. I don't know what it is. It's pretty, I don't know. I also feel like maybe they should, I don't want a pity timer, but maybe something like that, or a way to like disenchant some, like trade, like you should let me trade 10 of these other promos I don't want for the one I do want.
Yeah, like do some sort of like shop feature where it's like, okay, here's 25 of the one I have. Can I just get the points I need to get this one? I would gladly...
like in Mega Man games, right? Don't they have shops where you just like can do that?
Exactly. Okay. But it's super ridiculous, and I get really annoyed that I miss out on these things because I'm like, oh, I have a life and I work, and oh no, I forgot that the event ended tomorrow, and I didn't pay attention enough to get that one damn card that I missed.
It happens. It's okay. You're an adult. You have adult responsibilities.
Yeah, as I'm sitting here painting and adding decals to my Gundam kit, uh, I'm an adult. No,
You're an adult.
so we talked about this when we were younger, but there was a for Gundam Wing, there was a manga that they released in tandem with the show called Gundam. In America, we called it Gundam: The Last Outpost, but in Japan, it was called Gundam G Unit. And the Gundam in that show was this really cool, not show, that manga, that basically, I do not know how to pronounce it because it's complicated as shit. A.S. Copolis or something like that. No, that's the other one. That's the bad guy. This is the Gundam Geminis. And what they did in that thing was, it's like they made the concept to sell toys, but they didn't make it as a show. So it was like no thing, but the show, it was part of the G Unit design. So it had like 4 or 5 different attachment systems that replaced shoulder pads and replaced it with jet engines and stuff. And so I bought the upgrade kit to have the 2 other high mobility and assault booster unit. And then I bought 2 of the normal ones so I could have one with each of those kits. So I'm just putting this one together and I'm about to rip it open, the upgrade kit, and give them like the crazy boosters.
Listen, you have things to do. We've talked enough. Let's take this home.
But on that note, everyone who hasn't yet, we are doing our TCN giveaway for the month of March. We have one more episode after this one to get people in there. This week's episode, Michael, what do you want the question to be this week?
Oh, what do I want the question to be this week? We talked about it. Okay. You are in charge of who do you want on this Defenders team? Rumor has it Defenders are coming. Who else do you want to be with Daredevil? Daredevil, Punisher, 2 other heroes. Maybe you want maybe we get Kate Nash. Maybe we get, or what's the girl? Who's the Hawkeye girl?
Kate Bishop.
Kate Bishop. Thank
Who's
you.
Kate Nash?
She's a music person.
Okay.
There's like 15 of these teenage heroes running around. Who does Daredevil swoop up? Question of the week. Who do you want on the MCU's Defenders? There you go.
Everyone. And I also kind of would love to see Spider-Man a part of this thing. Just like a random cameo where he joins up to fight the HVTF. That'd be fun.
He won't be in it. They'll do a thing where he's like, I'm going to take care of these drones outside. So we won't see him, but like, I think that's fine.
Or better yet, this is Michael, you and I grew up in the heyday of Marvel cartoons in the 90s.
Fantastic Four, remember, Iron Man.
Yes. Do you remember that one episode, I think it was of the Incredible Hulk or the Fantastic Four? It was a crossover between the 2 characters.
Sure.
Where they were all in New York and Johnny Storm was taking Hulk's sidekick. What was that dude's name? Because he's not in the MCU or anything ever since.
Philip?
Animated series sidekick.
Gregory?
What was that dude's name?
Jason?
No, it was
Brighton?
It was Rick. Rick Jones.
Rick.
Yeah. So Johnny Storm took Rick on a ride in the Fantastic Car around the New York to show him the city. And it was a montage, like an orgy of cameos. Every time a new shot, you would see like, oh, here's Wolverine and like sitting at a cafe. And there's this one shot where they go under the Brooklyn Bridge and you see Spider-Man step under the bridge. That's all you got to do. Just do something like that where it's like the vigilantes are rising up and just see just a bunch of cameos and just Spider-Man just swinging from a thing. No. That's all you got to do to basically say MCU. There it is.
Here's my cameo. Daredevil roughs up some guys and they're like, oh, do we need to take care of these guys? And we see them tied up with spiderweb on a lamppost. And he goes, no, those guys are already, their ride's coming for him. And then he walks out of there.
Exactly. So on that note, that's what I would want. And that's what would be fantastic. But Michael, let's go.
I'm taking you all to patreon.com/theculturednerd if you would like to support us. If you don't have monetary support to give us, please like, comment, subscribe. Also share this episode if you know someone that would want to talk about this. Question of the week. Who do you want on the MCU's Defenders? Taylor Murphy's been your host. I'm Michael Santel. I'm your co-host. Thank you so much for having us. We'll see you kids and cats next time.
Bye. Thank you for joining us. I sounded really Southern in that one. I'm not.
Bye, y'all.
I do declare.